Our listeners can actually help us and submit views on how we can do this.
I've had a chance to live both in town and in the village, and the deep in the village. You know, there are areas we call urban, peri-urban, and then you understand?
Black rural area. So what you do is all they ask you is, are you above 18? And no one, there is no camera, there's no one to do.
Our listeners, welcome to our podcast, The Sober Drive, with me, your host Elizabeth. Here with my co-host
Kadime Vincent.
and our esteemed guest for that day.
Cosmas.
Okay, so today let's start by focusing on we have a problem, an alcohol problem that has actually been prevalent among so many societies, regardless of age, gender, and because we do not have any existing limitations, we don't have immediate side effects. It is something that people have normalized in society. But when you actually take a deep dive to go through, when you make some research, you'll actually discover that you have so many problems that are coming up as a result of alcoholism. But before we go there, maybe let's try to put a difference between alcohol abuse and alcoholism. So alcohol abuse is the prevalent and consistent use of alcohol, and then alcoholism is the condition where you drink alcohol a lot, it becomes part of your lifestyle, and you stop functioning without it. It is where you find yourself, it's where alcoholics find themselves in positions where they are not able to quit the vice. And we could start by looking at what causes alcoholism in our society, because it is a serious matter that has affected our children. You could be having a child there struggling with addiction, and we are having families that have actually broken up. We have families that have been neglected as a result of alcohol. We've lost lives as well. We have people that are actually suffering severe mental illness as a result of alcohol. The problem is alcohol is subtle, so you may not see the effects immediately. That is why I think that society has normalized the drinking problem. So join us today in our conversation as we try to break down this alcohol use disorder. I will share with my co-host about some of the common causes, because usually there is a lot of stigma that comes with people that are drinking a lot. Societies don't want to associate with them, but at the end of the day, we cannot solve this problem if we do not go down to the roots to actually find out why these people are drinking. They could actually be having serious conditions as to why they are drinking. Many people use drinking alcohol as a coping mechanism for stress, anxiety, things like that. And this does not only end with adults. When you come down to college students, we are told, according to statistics, that about 10.2 of every college students, these are the number of students of which we are forgetting that actually this research is carried out on a small sample of students. We have those ones that are actually having the drinking problem but cannot come out in public. So the actual truth of the matter is that we cannot know how severe the problem is until we actually get to break down. So today, let's start by finding out reasons as to why people are drinking a lot excessively.
Maybe to add something, I would like to first ask a question. When do you think it is a vice? Before we go into the factors as to why people drink, when do you think it becomes a vice or a problem? Because I don't know. Do you think drinking is bad in the first place? What do you think?
I think if you are, because alcohol has been part of society for like probably the last 100 maybe million years. You could argue that after fire, alcohol is one of the inventions that society has had, and the way we use it, the way it's part of society for celebrations, for accolades and everything like that. I don't think it is created and consumed as a vice, as a problem, right from the basic unit. I think it's one of those servants that have the ability to serve you well, and they have the ability to destroy you if you ever misuse them or you mishandle them. So I've never been with people who are alcoholics, but I've been people who drink, and the one thing they tell you is that I have a limit. I feel if I go beyond 5 bottles, it's a problem. It's a problem for me. If I go beyond 6, it's a problem for me. And I've had people who've gone, I have the ability to take 25. That is a case down, and I'll stay sober. So I think when you breach your limits, I think that is when it becomes a problem, right? I don't know how biologically people cope up with alcohol and the amounts, because I could take 1 and I'm off. She could take 2 and you could take 3. But if you get to know your limits and you breach those limits, I think that is when it becomes a problem.
I think it all speaks to this aspects of consistency.
Yeah, absolutely.
The time and everything. For me, I think it will become a problem if you feel like it is no longer controllable.
Yeah.
If the amount you take will determine what you're going to do, not you determining the amount you're going to take. So I believe that's when, with the time we realize that it is a problem, it is already very, very late. Sometimes people adjust, but it is very rare.
I think it goes back to what she said then. If you have a reason to take alcohol, and that reason is wrong, because I don't have a soft spot for people who have gone on to destroy lives they've built because they are alcoholics, or the lives they could have built, or the lives they could have had, or the lives of people around them because they're alcoholics. I don't have a soft spot for them, because I think it's one of those cautious moves that slowly turn into uncautious behavior. You take a bottle, you understand that this does nothing to me. You take a second, I'm halfway my limit. You take a third, one more, I'll be off, right? I'll be out of my senses, right? And look, your peers know that, the people around you know that one cannot sustain 5, right? So if you take alcohol for the wrong reasons, there have been so many rationalizations, and we talked about this before, we were on air. If you rationalize your use of alcohol, it's probably you will never heal from the problem. It's probably you're going to have a bigger problem, because in your heart, in you believe it serves me well, right? For example, if you're failure, many people do compensate alcohol with failure. You failed in any sector of life. Maybe you didn't get your degree, maybe you didn't marry the woman you wanted, maybe you are going through a divorce and you feel like your life is crashing, and then you resort to alcohol, right? So because you've gone for to alcohol for the wrong reasons, I don't expect you to have the ability to control it, right? As long as it brings that immediate gratification for you, it eases the pain, it makes the world look beautiful for you, you will continue using it as a painkiller. And for me, the moment you use that as a painkiller, the moment you continue rationalizing, you'll never heal. It just continues to become a problem. So I think if we can investigate, and if society can investigate, what are the top reasons why people consume alcohol, and and we can sieve out which are the right reasons, celebrations, parties. I think it's right to go off for a party, on a party. Like you graduated, you you could take maybe 7, 8, right?
Eight.
And you could 8 and you could pass out, right? But I don't believe that if you have failed at a project at work, you make that right with alcohol. I don't think.
I actually believe you've explained the first point of some of the reasons as why people take alcohol. Most of the times we want to replace our failures in
Yeah, absolutely.
alcohol. So that one is well explained. But besides that, there is something I've been following many as me. I don't know whether it is backed up by research. I've not read so wide about it, but something to do with the family lineage. I think, like you're having your great grands or your great parents have been drinking, and then that the trend keeps growing even to the next generation. You find out that you're drinking because in your family there have been people, maybe addicts to drinking, or that family is known for drinking. Because I don't know about your villages, you guys, but where I came from, it is very, very, very absurd that we have families that family is known for testing which alcohol is good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, it is funny, but it is true.
It's true.
That we have a family that is known that they know when it is ready.
When it's ready.
You know that, well, I don't know how we call it in Yolo languages, but we have.
And that is
So-
a reputation that they build.
Yes, that
And
family
there
is
are
known.
families that are known for brewing the best,
Yeah.
the best beer, the best gins. There are families that are known for growing the raw materials for the beer.
I actually, we have a family that I've remembered. They have actually won very many competitions for drinking.
Yeah.
Because when someone takes spirit as if they're taking water.
Sure.
So such families, I believe it will go even to the next generation, because you find out that it is a family where they say dad was drinking, now the dad, now the grandchild, like that. They continue because they are known for that. And whenever it was ready to pair in local, the local beer and all that, then I don't know, the Walaj Kabao and that. So whenever it comes, they know which one is having some good amount of concentration. Maybe it is to a certain degree. They know which one is regular, which one is what. So you find out that your family or your lineage, it will also dictate a lot in whether you're going to be an alcoholic or perhaps you will survive.
Okay, but the problem, there are so many reasons that's why people become alcoholics, and I surely want to disqualify that point. To some extent, it's true, but as you grow up in different societies, you meet so many people. How can you not see the effect that alcohol is having? These families where we are being told that they have a reputation for having drunkards on the village. When you sit back, why I actually want to disqualify that reason is because when you see people that have suffered effects of alcoholism, any normal human being, surely you would not,
Just like I told you, it was not based on so much detailed research. It has been an observation
Yeah,
that I've seen.
it
But
is-
there is something I want to tell you guys. Effects of alcohol and alcoholism in families. Most of the times, if they don't break down, poverty will come in and all that. And you know the cycle of poverty. You're going to be poor, you will not educate your kids, they don't go to school. At the end of the day, they will stay in the same village with you. And when they stay there, chances are high that they will take on what they are seeing in the society. Yeah, you remember, there is that theory in psychology which explains what Rex has been talking about. That someone will see the negative impacts and maybe they act against the vice. But still, the same theory says that it is about someone to choose.
Yes.
Yes, because some people will see that it is bad and so they will go against it. But there are people who are influenced by the society where they come from. Oh,
True.
they
I
find
think with the social cultural factors when it comes to addictions and abuse of substances like alcohol, they are prime. I think that your environment really dictates what you will be addicted to and what you will not be addicted to. I'll give an example. If you live in a society where, I don't know what's the most expensive gin or vodka, but you will and you're living in a society where you've been crippled by poverty, you will never be addicted to that. You will never be addicted to that gin that maybe costs $1,000, per unit. You'll be addicted to a gin, a beer that costs less than $3, right? So I think the social cultural factors are very, very key. The family is the basic unit of the social cultural setting. But the hereditary status of addictions is one thing I would never agree with. Like I said, I don't have a soft spot for people who get addicted and throw away lives and hurt lives of other people. I think because there's always a choice to make. You either choose to be the responsible person that the people around you are led to believe that you should be and you will be, right? And that's why they've chosen to be around you, wife, family, kids, and everyone. You either choose to be that responsible person, and there's so many people that are responsible in society that you can emulate, whether that society is a poverty-driven society or not, or you choose to be the irresponsible person that no one wants to have by their side, right? You choose to betray their endeavors to trust in you and everything. And I think with alcohol, people need to know that it doesn't start with the negative effects. It starts with the pleasure. And it is your ability to differentiate between this is too much pleasure for me, right? I'm spoiling, than, oh, my father was an addict, so I'm probably going to become an addict, right? I'll give you an example. My father went to school, and he's one of the highly educated people in our community, in his setting. He's not taken any of his kids to school, like none, right? So of course he can use the excuse that people will use the excuse to back him up when he dies, that because his father probably and in his life people have not gone to school, right? But if someone has taken you to school, it means they see you as a basis, as a base to start a bright future in that language. And you've thrown it away, all in the name of this family is like this. So you've not given yourself a chance to be the change that could have been so pivotal, for the next 100 years, right? Because everything the way we evolve as humans and society is something happens, bang, a couple of events follow, and we have a story, right? So if the story is that we are alcoholics as a family, as a line, if someone stops it, and that is copied by the family members in the nucleus, in the nuclear family, and then it becomes an extended family, and they're not addicts, you break it. You break the cycle.
Okay, I know you guys might fail to agree with me, but let me just bring another point.
Yeah.
That might, help me maybe better explain what I meant. You see, you've heard about people say it is an independent cause. I don't agree with it. Our exposure to alcohol.
Mm.
You've heard about societies with the beer parties. I don't know. If you're coming from a town, it will seem archaic. It sounds like it is for long ago.
Mm.
Things we were thinking about in the African traditional society and all that. I want to tell you guys, for me, I've had a chance to live both in town and in the village, and deep in the village. There are areas we call urban, peri-urban, and then you understand?
Black rural areas.
So I've been there.
Mm.
I've been there, and I know what to take place there.
Mm.
We still have people who are still enjoying beer parties,
True.
and they have a notion, I believe that if you're a man, you're meant to drink.
Yes.
I mean, drinking is for men.
Sure.
That is prestigious.
Sure.
I mean,
Sure.
it is a party and it's a beer party.
Sure.
You see how family lineage. If a family believes in something like that,
Yes.
like they have organized beer parties,
Yes.
and everyone who is around, maybe say 13 is allowed to drink, it can continue like that because it is like a norm. It is like something that is done at home and it has been done. It was done by the grands and
that is how now we get the prevalence effect, the dependency.
Yeah.
Because all this could be there, in our family we are drinking, my father was drinking, my great grandfather was drinking, but at the end of the day, you can't know when the effects start to become severe. That is why alcohol is actually a very tricky substance to get your mind used to, because its effects are not immediate.
Yeah.
They are very subtle, and at the same time, this is a substance that people take, and it actually gives that immediate comfort from, I don't know, stress. Sometimes people think we are celebrating like the beer parties here. Vibe.
Sometimes
It
we
brings
have vibes.
So it is very difficult actually for you to know when it is starting to become a problem, because you want to vibe today and vibe tomorrow and vibe the next day.
I actually think the urban societies have a bigger problem with alcohol exposure than the ones in the rural areas, or those ones that we consider uptown and what. Because one, you have sites like Jumia, you have online sites where you're 12, 13, 14, 15, and as long as you can get access to a credit card, mobile money line, a Visa card, right? You can purchase each and everything. All they need to do is all they ask you is, are you above 18? And no one, there is no camera, there's no one to, you just have to say yes or no. It's like a survey, right? You could lie bluntly to the face of the survey. And
actually, many people usually get attracted to that, are you above 18?
Absolutely.
I actually think that when I was still below 18, I don't remember any single time I said I was below 18.
That's the point. And I think with rural areas, you have the structure that binds society together is a little bit stronger than the fabric that that holds our societies in urban areas. Because in urban areas, I have my parents working in 9 to 5, right? They cannot monitor me 24/7. I don't think I'm not saying in rural areas, you can monitor kids 24/7, but there is that acceptance in urban areas that, parents are busy, and parents have just let that life, we are busy, right? So I think with beer parties, it's very, very common that people have house parties in urban areas. People have those bucket nights, right? That drastic reduction in price of alcohol, right? I think it's kind of a marketing strategy, both in rural and urban. But I think what happens in rural areas is access at times. For example, you go to a beer party and you are 12, you're 10, right? It might be harder for you to access. In urban areas, I don't think in a house party, people who are 10 with their cash, with the way we appreciate cash in urban areas, I don't think a person who is 18 speaks more words than a person who's 12 with money. I don't think, right?
In town here, money speaks that.
Money speaks more than much. So I think society as a whole has got a job to do to stop alcoholism. But the problem is, alcohol is such a very on-demand commodity. Like that, alcohol. I think beer companies in Uganda are some of the highest, highly taxed enterprises, right? So government cannot go, we will help you here, right? For example, government could go, we do not want any ads of beer ads on what? On TV and radio, right? Because this could be consumed by 18. Government's hands are tied. That is one of the biggest sources of revenue. And then the operators of media their hands are tied as well. Because that, again, in terms of revenue, those are the guys, right?
Because of the advertising.
Yeah, they advertise 365 days in a year. So that is, that's their revenue. So they have left it into the hands of the individual, right? And that's why I tell you that the social cultural factors are there. But I don't have a soft spot for a person who actually becomes an addict. Because there's so many role models for us to look at. There's so many people. It's one of, I kind of feel like addicts are a minority in society. Like when you're in a pool of 100 people, maybe 10, maybe 20 could be addicts. So you either choose the 20% or you choose the 80%. And most people have gone to, of course everyone has their problems, but if you choose the 20%, the repercussions that come your way, you've got to feel them. You've got to.
Now, the problem with looking at the role models for this particular case is because usually everybody seems to be drinking and they are merrymaking. So it is actually difficult for you to see that, this person here is an addict.
Yeah, true, that's
because
true.
they can go and then drink and have their dependency. But then there are also those times when they're actually sober. This is before we get to the point where somebody is hospitalized. So, yeah, people are hospitalized from drinking. So, sometimes it's difficult for them to actually spot that, this person is like this. Because it has become part of our norms today. We have very many fathers that have neglected homes and, people are okay with it. Why? Because he's an alcoholic. And the point is, why should you have to neglect your family with that title or reputation or rather excuse that you're actually an alcoholic? I think it's actually not worth enough for you to be sacrificing this family because you're the head of that home. So if you choose to actually lose control while on this road, you want to, sometimes you're stressed or it is just your fun time. But for issues like stress now, you find that stress never goes away. Stress is part of us.
Yeah, sure.
Somebody can only rest from stress after they die, but before that, stress keeps coming. So there is no way that somebody is going to stop the drinking. Why? Because it gives you that immediate comfort, and immediately it is out of your head. Your stress comes back. So that means that actually you will go back to, try to nurse that stress in that manner, and before you know it, you actually cannot stop.
But I think alcohol has not received enough, attention from the society, in a way that people do not think drinking alcohol is actually, firstly, they don't believe alcohol is a drug.
Yeah.
Either you find them thinking that, for me, I'm just taking alcohol. I'm not like Cosmas who is taking marijuana. I'm not like this one. The society has painted alcohol as, not okay, but still not as a very bad. I mean, people take alcohol freely and like marijuana.
Yeah.
Sometimes I hear them in my neighborhood. Sometimes they'll be, this one is smoking, but this one is cooking, I don't know. But for alcohol, somebody will buy even crates and crates of beer. No one is minding. Actually, they just praise you, man. You're making it. This time you're going to. I know the vibe is going to be either side. Not knowing that in so doing, you're nursing what we call alcoholism, because with the time, this person is going to become addicted. Sometimes they may think it is a lifestyle, yet it is becoming a problem. But I think the other issue is, I understand the entire the government's position. I mean, this is the source of revenue. They tap there, and it is bringing in some good amount. But I mean, you're having a generation, most especially young generation, because I think nowadays drinking is more in the productive age, most especially in Uganda, where we are having majority are youths. So the most affected still are the youths. So you're sacrificing your future generation because you need this little amount of money. I believe that's why I was so much in for the anti-narcotic bill that was previously proposed, but I don't know. Somehow, I think for selfish reasons, some people could not accept why the businesses they have are bars.
Yeah,
I think
sure.
everywhere you find there is a minister is having a bar somewhere,
Yeah.
and actually someone is, I know a minister is having like 7 bars.
Yeah.
So are you expecting such an individual to accept such laws?
No, obviously
So
not.
we are looking at where people are tapping income from, and then vis-a-vis the society. So we have to choose. I think the society will always come as an opportunity cost, which I believe is something that would have thought about better if the government was caring about the people. And I don't know about these guys.
The government,
Do you?
the government does not have to be the first to care for you, because we need the taxes. I mean, very many times we don't see where the taxes go, but when you look at our hospitals and our roads, we really need that tax. But why should you wait for government to be the one to regulate you? Because government doesn't live in your house. Government does not live in your family. So why should you have to wait for an outside party rather than taking that initial responsibility as an individual? Because at the end of the day, when you become dependent, government is actually not concerned.
Absolutely.
We shall come and pick you and take you to a facility and dump you there.
Okay, the only problem is that maybe for someone who is mature, I don't believe 18 is enough. But you say someone who is 18 in Uganda,
It's a mature person.
but I don't believe, because I've seen people at 18 behaving like kids.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think even the age, I don't know. What do you think? Don't you think it would have been at around 25?
I don't know. Biologically, I don't know when a person can handle at least a liter of alcohol. I'm not really sure. But I think the problem is not the age. The age when you start is a problem, because when you think about the consistency and dependence, it goes back to how long you've been using.
Yeah.
But then the question is, do we have people who are using below 18? Many of them.
Very.
So literally, the 18, the bar, is kind of a pseudo line to show people and statistically that most of the people that are drinking are above 18, right? And it is also to the benefit of beer companies that they can use it in adverts, that not for sale, right, to persons under 18, right? But how many people are using when they are 14, 15, 16, 17, right? There are very many. There is this notion that you have stages of strength in alcohol. So you might have this, there is this kind of belief that maybe, I don't know, the circuit is as not strong as
the UG.
as the bottle, right? As the bottle, right? So it starts slowly, it starts small. Someone just gets a circuit, inserts it into bread as they go to school, right? And then before they know it, because that is done, and there's the time is still going on, the same thing is going on, they have jumped over the fence to bring another circuit, right? Or they have sent someone beyond the fence of the school to bring another circuit. By the time that person has the liberty, if they've gone through all those problems and restrictions to get a circuit, if they become free, they start making some income, they start making some money. Most people, humans, we spend our money before we make it, or before we receive it, right? So the problem is not the age. The problem is if you can access, no matter the age. Like I said, I could go to Gigi right now. They ask me, "Are you above 18?" And I say, "Of course,
Yeah.
I'm above 18." "When were you born?" And I say 1982, right? And everyone was, and the site which is actually not run by humans, right, run by chatbots and AI, will definitely feel like, wow, you're old enough, and they will recommend for me the best, right? Probably have an option in my head. They will now start recommending the best, right? So the exposure at such a young age is something that you've got to think about. If a 12-year-old is told that, do you want, is exposed to an advertisement, do you want to run away from your daily problems, or do you want to become the campus CEO, you want to become the vibe master, right? You understand? And adolescence is where you want to try out each and everything. As a boy, you want to be a man, right? You want to that by that time you want to find out what is the best way to please your friends, right? As a man. And before you know it, you're in a gang that are telling you, if you can't, drown a bottle non-stop, you are still a boy, right?
The scariest thing is that some of these young people are actually drinking, but the parents are not aware
Absolutely.
that their children are drinking.
And many of them are drinking in families where their parents are either no longer drinkers of them or they don't drink.
Actually, research, yes, I was reading about research. Was it around 2016? It was conducted by Victoria University in northern Uganda, and they were like, out of 10 secondary school students, out of 10, at least 7 of them have tested alcohol. At least 7, according to their survey. It was so interesting that 5 out of 10 of the students they asked about alcohol in primary had tested alcohol. Which means this whole idea of telling people, you drink responsibly when you are drinking under 18.
Under 18
it is just like a jargon that is used to tell people that you shouldn't.
For the case of the primary students, I'm really curious. How did these children access alcohol in the first place?
I told you about the families where people come from.
I know some of them don't even come from families where
but this research was conducted from remote area. It was conducted from northern Uganda. So it is very possible that the so-called beer parties or at home there, they have a brew and or what. People test it, and how things are done in a primary. You drink and then you have to serve all your friends. So the boss of the day with alcohol serves.
I also don't think people running the activities in the formal sector do care about the fabric of society. I don't think I don't remember going to a shop at 9-8 years and someone refused to give me something that someone had sent me for, or whether I was lying or not. So I could go and buy for my uncle or some guy cigarettes, and no one has proof that I was buying cigarettes for someone, but they would happily say, come back, thank you. They would say, thank you, right?
Come back again and buy more cigarettes.
You understand? So they would say, thank you, and give me a sweet, right? To glue me to buy my customer loyalty, to glue me to their shop, right?
Yeah.
They didn't care whether the cigarettes, Supermatch or Sportsman by that time, I was taking them to a person or not. But at 9, I'm 1 year away from entering into my adolescence, and I want to imitate everything I see in society. I want to smoke, I want to drink, I want to drive cars at a very terrific speed. I want to do everything you think about that is fancy at that age. So I don't think the survey, the boys that took part in the survey, would have any hardship if they went to a shop and they're P7 in northern Uganda, you're like maybe you're around 14?
14.
You're around 14, 15. I don't think they would have any problems whatsoever buying alcohol.
And also these days, our children grow very fast. No, around that children who are 14 and they look like they are 20. I don't know what happened. Children usually used to be smaller. I don't know what is happening. I don't know if it is lifestyle or diet, but the children actually look older than their ages.
When we are sick, yeah. So we cannot be here informing you about the problem that we have in society. Okay, today we are discussing alcoholism, but problems like obesity. And by the way, in Africa, being obese translated into having money.
Exactly. I was talking to someone, and I told them that the definition of having a good body in Western society is when you're kind of slim and you're taking care of your body, you're going to the gym, you're running. The definition of having a good body in many African societies is you're overweight. You have big legs, you have big feet.
Last week, somebody wrote an article and they were saying that men with big bellies
have money.
can actually easily access loans from the banks.
I think in Africa, having a big belly means you have money. Obese, you're like Kizarian, people think,
Sure.
you know what, this guy can
Banana
afford
water.
anything. Yeah. So literally, you can afford anything because they believe you look like a man.
You look like money.
I don't know. Even if it is the same at your home, is it?
It is.
It must be because I used to look at my dad those days, and whenever I could get this funny way, I would think nowadays I'm peaceful. Nowadays I'm I don't like it personally. I don't like weight. I don't know. I have excess already.
When you get money, you might like it.
Okay, but I think it's not a good idea to compare me because you'll be misleading the audience. Obese people don't look like me.
I'm sorry, you're not obese. You're not obese. So, but I believe the problem of alcohol, if we can provide some of the immediate solutions, it would have been the societal initiative. Just that it is very unfortunate that we are living in what we call the money economy.
Yeah, sure.
Everyone is motivated by money.
Yeah.
Everything is driven by money. And then it so happens that it is a democratic society.
Yeah.
People are free to do everything. It is not just a democratic, but it is a capitalistic society where everyone is starting a business expecting money and they are out of government's influence.
Yeah.
So literally you get everything. Those are the reasons as to why no one would care when you went to buy a cigarette. Because this guy opened the shop to make money.
Yeah.
You're bringing money and they're asking for your age.
And he pays tax, which tax actually weighs him down. So he either makes the money or he's out of business. As simple as that.
That is very hard. But I think if we are to discuss the causes of alcohol and alcoholism, we can never finish.
Yeah.
Because this is something that is a very individual.
There is a campaign that we had about 5 years back. I was still younger, and there was a campaign that shopkeepers were not to give children alcohol. Even if they went and mommy sent me for a bottle or daddy sent me, they were not supposed to give the children. They were supposed to actually tell the children to go back home and tell daddy to come and pick his bottle.
Were they doing that? Or it was a campaign?
No, there was a campaign, and we would see that actually at least somebody is trying, which is not happening today. Right now, that was in the past. Nobody even remembers. We don't care. At least we had that campaign.
That's why I told you at least the government could intervene on such grounds to see that at least it can be enforced like that.
Yeah,
Maybe we could reduce the number of
the government,
especially the young ones.
the government, for me, the government could intervene at a period of time when society was more communal than individualistic like it is today. I think right now we have more cases of loneliness, people living together alone, like the model life, the model life people want to live is: I want to finish school, I want to rent an apartment and live there like for 5, 6, 7 years, and probably get married and later, right? I think society was more communal then, right? If it was more communal, like it was then, where you could have a family sit around the television, watch news, watch an ad, and the parent could break down the major facets of that advertisement and tell the kids, alcoholism will lead you to that, right? Not using a condom will lead you to that. But today, you have parents that live before it is light, right? Some live at 4, some live at 5, some live at 6.
And they come back when the children are sleeping.
Exactly, and come back when the kids are sleeping. So in between that period, they're not really sure what the kids have consumed, right? And we are employing maids that don't really care. Some do, right? I don't want to discredit all, but they don't really have that, attachment, because again we change maids like we change career paths. You see,
And
Maids
but
also
usually
came from
even
maids.
You know,
maids
they can't
actually
be too strict on someone's kid.
That
Even
would-
be
that
one of the reasons as to why you may end up losing your job as a
true.
maid. Because I've seen a family. I think this maid was kind enough, was helping one of the sons at home to learn how to wash utensils, those simple things at home. And the mother was like, "We pay you to do this.
Why you tell me? Why do I pay
You
you?
force my kid." I mean, maids sometimes they also face a very hard time
Yeah.
to help these guys sometimes. But of course, you overloaded them. I mean, she's cooking, cleaning, washing, looking after the growing baby, doing everything
Some
at home.
families have pets.
Yeah, I
So
saw. You have to look after the cat, dogs, and everything.
at the end of that day, the children are raised by televisions where the adverts are running non-stop.
I actually think that the one thing, and I don't think this is really viable, but the one method that government could use or we could use is criminalizing the excess use of alcohol. Not the effects of excess use, but the excess use. Like if you become a nuisance, an alcoholic nuisance, this patting on the back, you just walk away with, some patting on the back, that should stop. If a person, uses alcohol before they rape a person, before they ram their car into an electric, pole, and then the whole village and the whole, town has no electricity, that person should stay, behind bars for quite some time, like 3 days, 4 days.
You know what?
We could end up arresting.
There is something I want to tell you. If you want to maybe work on a problem, don't treat the cause. Don't treat the effect. Treat the cause.
No, but
okay, let me tell you this. So you feel like imprisoning someone who is already sick.
No,
because we agree.
I'm not saying you imprison the sick. I'm saying you detain people. You detain people that
for a period of like 3-4 days.
maybe 2 days, right? And I'm saying these people could be released on bond, expensive bond. Like, if you could give us 2 million, you leave, right? So the next time, and I'm not saying the people who have become severely affected. I'm saying people, these guys, you wake up in the morning and, they're all leaving the bar at 8. Someone told me they leave the bar at 10. Like, yes, 10 a.m. You find an exodus of people getting out of it. Like,
sometimes you just continue.
Like
a drink to death, then you rest like for 1 hour inside the bar, and then the barman comes back, and then you continue from where it's from. So sometimes people get out of bars because maybe they run out of money, perhaps because most of the times drunkards don't want to bathe, they won't eat.
Yeah.
Sometimes they tend to lose appetite and body. So the only issue they're thinking about is drinking. So when you feel like maybe your pocket is down empty, you go back home to look for more money.
And come back.
And you come back to load some more.
Yeah. But it's a problem that can only be dealt with now at individual level.
Yeah.
It's choices now. It's you have a red pill and a blue pill. The blue pill is where you like, I'll go with a good life. I'll go with the life that my kids will be happy with. The red pill is, I don't care, my kids will do whatever, will find whatever they find.
And that is the spirit as to why we're having these conversations and podcasts.
Yeah.
I said that we intend to produce, and we encourage our viewers to continue watching, coming, sharing our content with people, because it will help people to understand what they're going through. If you're going to choose on taking alcohol, you understand the repercussions.
Yeah.
You understand that you're having some 10 years to waste when you're just nurturing the problem of addiction. You understand that you're going to end up wasting that full year in rehabilitation.
It's not a year, in my opinion. It's if you've developed it across a period of 10 years, you're mitigating it for a minimum of 5 years, and you're quitting in 5 years. That's another decade.
So you're having that whole journey of 15 years just to quit your addiction.
Yeah, just to quit it.
But sometimes it takes not that much, that amount of time, that much time. But of course, it is costly in terms of being productive to society. It is very costly, because if you have to spend 2 years just dealing with something you could avoid, it would have been a problem. So I believe these podcasts will help people to realize problems associated with alcoholism. Maybe those ones, because it is not a crime in Uganda to be
And I don't think, apart from the Middle East, I don't think it's a problem.
Yeah, so since it is not a problem, even those ones who have started, we can help them, because we're going to be a number of experts, number of former victims, to share their stories and what they went through. So someone will be able to understand clearly. If I take this, if I have to do this choice, I must understand what might be the results. So that's how I think we should deal with the individual, because we cannot change the entire society at once when it comes to alcohol.
And also, we've been talking about alcohol. I grew up, and I've seen podcasts, I've seen shows, I've been to conferences, and the aim is to reduce on the use of alcohol, but they seem to have not yielded good results. So I really don't know. Maybe our listeners can actually help us and submit views on how we can do this, because at the end of the day, it becomes a society problem. If we have a drunkard in a neighborhood, we shall not sleep at night. If we have a drunkard in the neighborhood, they'll come back, and that's how we get issues of domestic violence. We get family negligence, and it will not be a good picture, especially for the children, to see if my husband, my home has no person that is an addict, and my neighbor has one. These two families can never be the same, regardless of income or status. If I can take my children to school and then my neighbor is an addict of alcohol, it means that he cannot spare some money to educate the children. And even if he does, he will not provide quality that he would have offered if he wasn't drinking. So at the end of the day, you actually put the mental health of these children in danger. Children grow up in broken homes, and this is actually one of the reasons as to why it has become difficult for us to break the cycle of addiction, because we have been told that children that have grown up in abusive homes, many of them grow up to become abusers in the future.
I don't know about that.
And no, it actually is. We have, when you take time and you look at why we have a lot of domestic violence, especially in the rural areas, it is because when a boy grows up watching their father beat their mother, if it doesn't hurt him so bad to the extent of not wanting to be that man, he's going to, develop a mindset that actually, if I'm the man of the house, he will calm down and will be beaten, and there is no problem with it. So at the end of the day, you find that these children are going to copy. And before we know, we shall be having another family. If you have 4 sons and none of them survive, you shall have, that means 4 other families that will have the drinking disorder.
I believe among, one, we talked about something to do with I can say insignificant impact of all the things we've been doing. But in a behavior change, even if you manage to change a very small portion of the public, it would have made an impact. Perhaps they would help you to change others. You get? So we can never underlook the efforts that these people have been doing all the time.
Sure.
And they have helped many.
Sure.
And then maybe, I suggest maybe with the time design a campaign that is just having these people, most especially the drunkards or the drunkards.
Will they accept? Because literally, when you're an addict, you can't function without the alcohol.
The
so
problem
how are we
is
going to gather them?
Sometimes it will be after realizing that you actually have a problem that you'll be looking for a solution. So
but do you
I
actually know that
outside
also
there,
sometimes people that are addicts don't accept that they are addicts?
Yeah, absolutely.
if someone could realize that it is now becoming a problem, those are the people I'm looking at right now, and you believe you can change, perhaps you can design a schedule of helping these people change. For example, the anti-drinking month, where someone is going to assign herself or himself a responsibility of non-drinking for that particular month. Because we cannot ask for a lot
Yeah, sure.
for starters, but we can maybe have those simple commitments where people can say maybe for this particular period of time, I'm not going to be drinking. And then they will have to share with us their progress.
I've looked at a few mechanisms that people use to treat addictions. And just by reading and not even asking and interacting with anyone who has had, who has used them, I know how ineffective they are. The first thing is with addictions, the more you get accustomed and dependent on a certain behavior, habit, or product, the longer it takes to detach yourself from it. And the problem is if you created, for example, a campaign like 1 month without drinking, the non-drinking month, I think many alcoholics would go through that month. Do you know why? There's so many people who are tired of that particular problem. They do realize, and that's what most people think people don't care. Like, he's an alcoholic, he doesn't care, right? I think they do understand it's a problem, and they try to quit every single day, right? I'm not saying I have a soft spot for them, I don't even. But the problem is, the moment you wake up and you've detached yourself for a month, right? When you go back a step, that's the problem. The problem starts anew, right? And many people who use heroin and are addicted to heroin will tell you that the problem with getting off heroin is when you stop for a month and you start using it again, the next time you will feel you want to stop is within another year.
So I believe with that, maybe what we can do, or what anyone would have done, you're going to have this whole group that are interested in changing and quitting their addictions. Maybe start with that particular period of time. If someone succeeds for a month, then push it to the next month.
I know. There's a book called Traction. It's called Traction. It's the opposite of distraction. So it's called Traction. It's about driving yourself to things that you ought to do, not you want to do, but you ought to do, like driving yourself to them, rather than being pulled by things you're not ought to do, or you don't have to spend much of your time. For example, social media could be a distraction, and then waking up and going to the gym in the morning could be a traction, right? And traction is one of the ways that I've seen psychologists try to use on addictions and antisocial behaviors in society. But my problem with traction is this: people who who are addicted to products and behavior and habits are the best at rationalizing. So he will create a scenario where you understand, and that's and simply in your life, if you're not addicted to anything, the traction theory is very good. Like, I will wake up and I'll go to the gym. I will not spend 20 minutes on social media. I will wake up and go to work, right? I won't spend 15 minutes gossiping, right? But if you're really touched,
You're the addict.
You're addict. You'll create a 3-hour schedule where you're like, this is my time to the bar. You understand? And you will definitely, fulfill that.
If you want to quit any kind of addiction, be it alcohol, be it I don't know. We were sharing before coming on here.
Yeah.
That there is sexual addiction that I didn't know about, and then
You did, but you didn't understand what the problem.
Maybe
Where the problem, and I don't know where the problem comes from. Like I don't know where sexual addiction can be now termed that you're addicted to sex. Like, because people have chunks and chunks of
And
it.
actually, if we had a detailed conversation, I would have asked you only 2 questions. One, to tell me when someone will tell that I'm now becoming an addict. And the other question is, how do you get addicts? You as you. But since we are not discussing sexual addicts, one of the few things we should understand about addictions and dropping your behavior is the determination
Absolutely.
that you have
Yeah.
as an individual to stop this particular behavior. I don't want to call them behaviors. I believe they are vices, but since it's the way you guys term it, I'll continue calling them behaviors. So if you want
They
drop
have
something,
actually moved from vices, and right now we have the alcohol disorder. I didn't have any idea.
so sometimes I
So
think
it is now a disorder.
Vice is a strong word, but I feel disorder is a comfortable word for people to run away with the small part they have to play in becoming addicted. When you say you have a disorder, it's like a disease that it's like a disease that has befallen on you, and you had nothing to do. So you either have to treat it, right, or you have to succumb to it. I think with disorders, it's a word that I wouldn't really relate with addictions, because a person has to feel that degree of responsibility if they're going to turn around. And when you actually, that's why I think hospitalizing them is a problem. Because just imagine if you were a failure, like in life, and you failure, and you put in a pool of failures. The first
whose degree you actually have no idea.
Exactly. So you're there and you're like, oh, this is how many we are. At least I'm not alone. But when
group of failures.
Yes, but if you're left to struggle with the never-ending challenges of life, right? You look at your mates that you were at school with, and they've started a podcast, and the podcast has a sponsorship, and they're changing people's lives, and for you, you're on the other side of the belt, where you have to be helped, right? You're not helping, but you have to be helped, and possibly you are better than these people at school. Possibly you are seen as a model kid during your times at school. I think it would even be better, because a person then gets that degree of responsibility in them, becomes cautious, becomes self-aware, and then that's where you derive the determination. I understand if they put you in a room of maniacs, you might be determined to get out as quickly as possible. Like, if I can get out. But those are desperate measures. You're there for a year or maybe 6 months. You're desperate to get out. And we are not talking about people who are totally irreparable. Irreparable. We are talking about people that have the sense to understand, if I do this and this and this, they will let me go out of the psychiatric hospital. And when he goes back, the problem has not been solved at all.
I believe if you've actually understood your problem and you own it, that I've been an addict and for all this period of time I've been battling with the problem, and now I'm out of this hospital, I believe someone would act as expected. That's why we have quite a number of them that have actually dropped their addictions.
Yes,
But we also have the other bigger number
yes,
that actually
exactly.
keep going back
Yes.
and back and back. Sometimes, I don't know if it is about the conditions in those hospitals. I think perhaps they're not doing enough, because we would not have so many people relapsing all the time, and then they are too sick. By the time they take them back, they are actually worse.
Yeah, and actually it's the context. It's when you treat people like specimen, they understand the context. Right. This is where I work from, right? If I woke up in the morning and I was seated in the studio, it's different, right? It's absolutely different. The context has changed, okay? So the problem arises from you've picked this person and you're treating them as a specimen in a very treated environment, right? The pools of Mama Naka's bar are no longer there, At times people go to bars for the prostitutes. You've eliminated the prostitutes from the picture. You've eliminated the different varieties. You could give them a bottle, but you've eliminated the different varieties that they used to choose from, right? You could find a guy, starts with Club, then Bell, then Guinness. You've eliminated that. So while you're giving them Club, when they get out, they're like, okay, I'm quitting, but I'll just have to take at least one more Guinness. And the moment you go with one more Guinness,
You add one more.
you're back.
See, actually, I believe if you want to see whether something is effective or not, of course, the best method is eliminating. You eliminate that particular factor, because you cannot treat a problem with another problem.
I disagree.
So, since we need these guys to recover, we need them to come back to their normal senses, to drop their vices, which we call behavior. I believe eliminating these all disturbances could just help them to settle in. And I think that is one of the things I'm going to ask the experts to explain more about. Why do they think that is the most effective? Because, if we don't remove those factors that enhance you to do something, you continue doing it.
No, I think it's the most effective because it is the most cost effective as well. Just imagine if you're one doctor and you had to treat or attend to 17 patients at 17 different locations. It would be very, very high. So there's a book called Indestructible. This one's called, I think it's Indestructible. And literally what it talks about is you don't have to remove the things that distract you. You have to work on your ability to concentrate, right? For example, it literally talks about much of social media and this generation. And what they talk about is you might be addicted to TikTok. Like there are people who put on their suit at 8 a.m. to go to work, lie on the couch and scroll through TikTok for 4 hours, 5 hours, and by the time they're done, they no longer have the urge to go to work. They'll phone in and they're like, I had an accident while I was coming to work. I can't come in today. You understand?
Yeah.
So and literally the suggestion is that it's better you build yourself, right? I think there is a theory called the social inoculation. It's better you treat yourself for to meet the distractions rather than saying, I will get rid of the addictions. I won't use Instagram personally. I don't use Instagram, but I use TikTok, right? I use YouTube. So if you're going to try to remove every distraction in your life, it's not going to work. It won't work.
You know, the problem is that you want to take sick people, already sick people, as people who are rational. They're no longer rational. Right?
No, but they are sick.
I must tell you, these guys are addicted.
Yes.
So to tell them to deal with their destruction,
Yes.
it will be after helping them to recover. You know, I know they go through stages.
Yes, they
So
do.
there is a stage, you tell them that, but still, you need now to understand what's needed, what you should do. We understand your society, your community is contributing a lot, but you should be focused. You get? You show them the possible ways of living in that particular society, and they remain positive. Other than telling someone who is already sick, someone is telling you that without a shot, I'm not going to perhaps to function for the next 2 hours. So those people will need to first be isolated. Just like, take it like any other patient, someone who is suffering maybe from typhoid. You cannot tell them that. So you're here, you're sick because you took something that is dirty. First treat the problem and then tell them what they need to do. So I believe that is the spirit as to why these people have to isolate.
But now also, why that one cannot be very practical, it is because, like we said, it is individual. These are choices people are making.
Yeah.
And then today we have a problem of individualism, something like that. You know, everybody and their own problems. So since society believes that, you know, because not everybody is an addict. We have people who are drinking alcohol. We have people, very many people by the way, who have healthy drinking habits. So society looks at those people as, why I think society cannot work towards helping these people. It is because they look at them as, sometimes they are referred to as social misfits.
Yeah.
Something like that. Because we think that they choose, of which they do. But I also want to believe that at some point, they actually want to stop.
They do. Yeah.
But because society is not ready, for various reasons, we cannot treat.
That's why we are having these rehabilitation centers to take them, we treat them, we bring them back to the society.
You know the problem. The problem. Okay, listen. If you are given a job to treat me from an addiction, step one, you isolate me. For example, my problem is that I take a lot of alcohol. You isolate me. 2, you cut access.
Yeah.
Problem not solved.
They're like
You've literally put me in an area where I cannot access, right? But tomorrow, like 1 year later, if you put me in a pool of crates of beer, I'm just going to take revenge. I'm going to compensate.
Unlike other irrational, I don't know, creatures, human beings can understand. You cannot eliminate that. The fact that you understood that you sold off everything you had in life because of the bottle.
True.
And then someone is helping you to get rid of the bottle.
True.
Then it will be your choice to understand that what I went through, I should not go back there. And for us, we shall just help you to understand your problem and how to deal with it.
But
I just gotta ask you a
perhaps
simple question.
they are actually like medical treatment, because I believe there is a stage. We've seen people who use drugs. They have that withdrawal stage.
Yeah.
They want to stop really,
Yes.
but you know they can't. So I want to think they're actually medical prescriptions.
There are
that
medical.
help them
There are medical procedures. For example, for heroin, there are medical procedures where they have to. Is it called detoxifying? Like, because your body is so dependent on heroin, so they do detoxify, right?
Now,
I think even alcohol.
Yeah.
I think even alcohol. I wanted to ask you a question. Have you heard of stories of young boys that are infected with HIV from by older women, and the whole society has literally known that woman is sick? Everyone has known, and there is consent that, you know, within the whole society, that this lady is sick. It doesn't make her a no-go zone. And you've heard that this lady who is sick has actually infected 19 people. on that particular thing. So the fact that we are rational beings, actually I don't think humans are the most rational beings on the planet. I think we are down the chain in terms of being rational. If you look at how these other animals protect their young ones, they feed, they respect their food chain. I kind of feel like they're more rational than we are. It's just that we are prejudiced. We just feel we are better than anyone, we're better than anything on the earth, and we praise our achievements more than anyone, because who's going to praise us? I mean, dogs won't praise us, cats won't praise us. We praise ourselves. So I think the thing of the people are rational. We will take them out of context, and we will talk to them, and we will counsel them. How many times have they told us you should never have sex before you're legally married? What is the ratio of people having sex outside or before wedlocks as compared to
there is something you must understand.
Okay.
Before it becomes, before you see severe damage, before you can evidence that I'm actually getting a problem out of something.
I see where you're going.
Most of the times people will not realize it is a problem.
I know.
They
All
will
the
not.
time, actually.
They will not. Actually, before you see that having sex before marriage is a problem, even if someone does work, exactly. But this is someone who is completely, I don't know. Do you have any right of someone declaring themselves bankrupt in Uganda?
Yes.
So
Yes.
I believe those people, some of them, by the time you go to rehab,
I know of companies. I don't know of people.
you own nothing.
I know.
Actually, even oxygen, you're on debt. Because why are you breathing and
Sure.
you're not adding to the society?
Sure.
So almost you're becoming a liability.
No, but you're adding something. Researchers are studying you.
Yes, the researchers
Besides
are
someone-
going to use you, but you're not benefiting.
So
With the time, you're forming numbers.
with the time, you're going to realize that I have a problem. And we are showing you, because now, unlike the days you used to be sick, you used to be an addict, where you cannot drop that advice. We've helped you, and now you can at least live for hours without alcohol. I mean, some people leave that place with like months without taking anything.
Sure.
So we can help this person that in such a way that after dropping the addiction, and you understand that you can function actually without alcohol, then you should walk towards making yourself better. We can help you with the counseling where things go bad. We can help you, because the stages of change. Sometimes there are stages to go back to the previous one. Yeah, it is very common, and it is very common with addicts.
And
But-
that is why making or creating community support groups instead of putting it on a whole society of 1,000 people, because that could be difficult. But if we could create support groups like of about 10, such that these people can look out for one another, it would be better start of treatment than just saying society should care about this particular person.
That is the spirit I believe these guys use or think about when they are collecting all these addicts. Because there is a stage when you're severe. We cannot mix you with someone, someone is just injured and for you bleeding everywhere. So we cannot mix you. But if you reach a stage where you're recovering from your problems, I believe they start sharing with different individuals how they have now suffered, which kind of problems. Some people lost their marriages, others, some of them will see domestic violences that have resulted into death. So you've killed your wife and everything. So literally, you've lost almost everything. So it is now your time to understand. And these support groups will help you maybe to understand that you're not alone. I went through the same thing, or something that is related or similar, and it can help you to understand. I don't know. I think viewers will now share their views in the comment section there. They will tell us what they think is the best way of handling addicts on an individual basis, because this is a matter of debate. You tell me it is not good for them to be put somewhere isolated, where factors are isolated. I believe it will work, because if we keep telling you that you should recover from something you take almost every day.
Yeah.
I don't believe someone is going to recover
Yeah.
that way.
And also, I think most people have found a companion in addictions with their habits. Yesterday I was watching a video about how people are making a lot of money from being online friends. So you are you are in Gambia and you are conversing. You're paid to converse with someone in India. You are an online friend. You create a profile as an online friend. And I was thinking, when you see the destruction, the biggest destruction is not created when you become an addict. The biggest destruction is created in that process when you become an addict, and when you're becoming an addict, because that is when you're seeking pleasure, you're running after this pleasure, and that is when you forget about the money, to the school fees money, you're running after alcohol. That is when you sell your house, right? That is when, but then when you become an addict, that is when you are willing to do each and everything, right? Right now you have nothing, so you are willing to do each and everything within your power to
get back on board.
to have a sip, right? So I kind of feel like there's the end of the road where people feel like there is nothing for me to go back to. Like, he looks back, and even if he goes back 10 years, 20 years, there is nothing to go back to.
Yeah, and that brings us to the point where we have to, discuss the relationship between alcohol and mental health. Because in severe cases, we have actually people that become suicidal. There are cases that are actually, when you go to the hospitals, they are cases that have to actually be handcuffed.
I actually believe alcoholism itself is a mental. I don't know about you guys, but I believe someone mentioning that Vincent is an alcoholic, it is enough to describe my mental state. And I'm not okay.
No.
Because
sometimes they're not mentally ill people.
okay, see.
But the point is we cannot separate addiction from mental health.
Definitely.
Because even the fact that they come and collect this addict, who they think is a problem, they come and take you away maybe from your family, you can't see your friends, and take you somewhere. That one alone is actually enough to disturb your
okay.
Because
you're sick,
people,
already
they feel
having that
isolated.
mental problem, and then they are isolating you to worsen, maybe for a short while. Because
And
when you're
maybe
in
then
isolation, very
Some
many things can
other
happen.
people, like Kosi was saying, these people that have nothing to come back to. So you find that we are going to treat two problems. We shall have the addiction problem, and then we shall have some of these people actually nursed back to health like babies, which is time cautious, it is costly, and most of the time you are not even sure how long this person is actually going to take to come back on board.
But I think for the people who have lost everything in life, literally, I think the best treatment, or the best thing I think they can now think about is understanding that every point in life is a starting point.
So
You can always start, so long as you're not going to go back to the same problems. You cannot let history to determine what you're going to be. So since you're still okay, you're still healthy, I don't know whether the damage is permanent or temporary, because sometimes by the time you leave rehabilitation center, you have to go for medication. Kidneys, I don't know, lungs,
I
don't know what.
actually think we should stop saying statements like, when you have lost everything. Because at some point, I believe, you could have lost everything, but you don't have to reach that state where you're very hopeless. Because at the end of the day, you still have yourself. We can start from there.
So you've lost everything.
No.
With an exception of yourself.
and the air you breathe.
Yeah, I'm telling you guys.
You've not lost
You
God by now.
cannot start. Okay, we are not helping if we paint these people as you've lost it all.
Yeah.
Because at the end of that day, we still have us. You have your own person,
I
and
actually
you know you
believe-
can make a choice to become sober.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. But take an example of a person who has butchered their family, right? They have sold their land, right? And after rehabilitation, after getting better, they are looking at two things. In a country where the death penalty is valid, that's what they're looking at.
About to die.
Or they're looking at a life sentence in prison, right? And then there are people who have not lost their, who have not butchered their family. The people who have just, spent 20 years destroying the relationship they have with their families. And in the end, the woman has remarried. The kids and daughters are disgusted, don't want to see you. So you've become
A misfit.
a misfit, right? And psychologically, and that's why I think the mental health part really is key, because for me the psychological part, the mental health part is when you look back at the darkness you've created, and you don't see how you create light, to obscure the darkness, and you're like, it's the end.
But I believe in such a situation, still, we would, after being hated by everyone, your family members, your wife, taken by Kosi, because they think you're
the sober guy.
the sober guy, and
That's it.
so your children think they are disgusted. They feel like you've done everything bad to them. In that situation, I believe something that will save someone is understanding that maybe they could reconsider their decisions after seeing that you're progressing into someone they expected. They could understand that you were just sick.
I know, I know, but there is permanent damage. You see, people have spoken on shows and podcasts, and they've said, my father was an alcoholic. He didn't care for us, but he left, right? He left, and we fought our way up, and we're all right. If a parent has just left, if you just leave your family behind, you can explain the struggles, and they will understand probably. Maybe not immediately, but with some time. But the times where you've gone that extra limit of nailing them into their graves as they're still alive, right? You've not killed them, like dying, but their futures and everything. You stayed in their lives. You've made sure that their lives are crippled until a time when they themselves feel like it's too late. We can't have anything in life, right? When you come back to such people and you look at them, unless you brought a solution to them, I don't think, unless you are very brave, I don't think you would have, the legs to meet them.
There are three ways someone can always maybe assume relevance in the society.
One,
being considered responsible, or earning what we call respect. One, it is always adding value to yourself.
okay, yeah, that's true.
You've been unemployed, get employed somewhere.
True.
Try as much as possible. Get something you can do. There, it is okay. People will understand. Then the second issue is seeing yourself improving your behavior. Always people understand that he's an addict, but he's trying right now, and the behavior, the way he behaves with people, is now becoming a responsible man, and society will be willing to help you because they're seeing maybe you can turn out to become someone important. And they feel, unfortunately, I think,
Yeah.
people
True.
expect to get bodies.
Yeah. When you're dead, they will script
In Africa, we don't
very
judge dead
good.
people. Everyone will say, he was a good
Yeah,
man.
he was a good man.
Rest in peace. So
Yeah, with
if
your
you
good
fail on
deeds.
on the two aspects, then wait for your grave. That's if you have somewhere to be buried, because you may come back after saying no because the graveyard. So
I think I have one question for you, and it's about humanity for both of you. Do you think, and to what extent do you think is humanity tolerant? Because we are not forgetful, like we are not.
yeah.
But how tolerant are we as humans?
For me, I'll tell you something related to what I've just talked about previously. I've told you that people will always tolerate who you are if they're seeing that you're actually doing something about it. Yeah. If you know your husband has been on alcohol for some good time and they have made you to pass through all everything you call hell on earth, I don't know. But they are doing something about it. They are trying to improve. People will be like, anyway, a benefit of doubt. Maybe he's trying to do something. But if you don't show any kind of intention of changing, people always know bit of it. So it is a matter of trying your level best. And if you happen to improve, of course, not everyone, because some people have what we call permanent hatred. If they're tired. Sincerely speaking, have someone.
Okay, but when it comes back to being human, we don't get tired of the people we stay with. If we have cases where children hate on parents because they've taken them through, that mental struggle with their addiction. But on the other side, we also have those ones that have tried to help because, this is my parent and I have no other, I can't buy from the market, something like that. So for me, I think actually, which is like a call to all of us are human beings. Perhaps we are trying to understand what actually goes on in the mind of these addicted people. So I don't think we should stop helping these guys to improve, because at the end of the day, if we do not help them to take one step at a time, we are going to end up having our children copying, So at the end of the day, helping your neighbor, we lose nothing. I know it is quite difficult, and because of the stigma, society looks at addicts as,
What
he
drink
wants to
criminals?
drink,
But even you as an addict,
But you actually,
if you want to be
we
hot,
can make a change. Sometimes people can change, but they need a push. You need to be that support pillar for that person. Some of them actually want to change, but they need people to be supportive. They need to be sure that actually, you can do better, regardless of how far you have gone. Because some of these guys, at the end of the day, we are having cardiovascular diseases, we have those whose kidneys have been, that is already enough to cause mental disturbances to themselves. So these people are already suffering, and us that's in a good place, I want to believe it should be our responsibility. Yeah, I know we shall get tired of helping, but usually we are told never to give up. It's not all about, it only doesn't apply in careers, professions, maybe on your family. Sometimes it's going to be about this one person, because I am sure that, as a friend to an addict, you could make a difference in their life instead of, giving up. So we should come back to, we are humble beings, we are human beings at the end of the day. So how about, you just keep, you can't know when change will come, and you can never know what effort you're actually putting into this person's life. They could change because of you.
and I believe, like I said, if you're willing to change, if you're willing, even if you've not changed, but you're willing, you're showing people that you're trying, you as an addict, they will always support you. But if you don't, and the only thing you're showing us is that continuing with your bottle and the glass and all the time thinking about the I don't know, that colorless liquid, all the time they will be thinking about it as a problem, and no one is expecting to have liabilities on their lives. So try as much as you can to break through, to stop your addiction, or work towards stopping it. That's when people will be willing to support you. Before you know, someone will be like, oh, you can start doing this, and you know, if you reduce your, I don't know, should I call it being idle? And to get something maybe to do, you're having already a distraction. But no one is willing to help you have something to do if they know you're just a nuisance.
Yeah.
So if you're willing to change, people will always help you, either directly or indirectly. Yeah, that's what I think about.
Okay, so this brings us to the end of our show today. But our take for today was, what do you think we can do? What more can we do as a community and individuals to help these addicts, you know, to get their life back or become better people? What can we do? What do you think we can do better to actually help them address their addiction problems? Because we actually believe they can. So let us know in our comment section. Thank you very much for listening, and subscribe to our channel.
Yeah, they should subscribe, share, like, and comment. It will do us a great good, I believe.
Absolutely.
So, thanks for watching, and I think we sign out. Of course, do you have
Ciao.
anything?
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Our listeners can actually help us and submit views on how we can do this.
I've had a chance to live both in town and in the village, and deep in the village. You know, there are areas we call urban, peri-urban, and then you understand?
Black rural area. So what you do is to, all they ask you is, are you above 18? And no one, there is no camera, there's no one to do.